What's up, everybody? Welcome to Gamescast Now, episode 109, topic 2. I am Alex. In this video, we're going to talk about what, basically, Sucker Punch should do next after it goes to Tsushima, and ultimately, if they should return to Infamous. Now, this is a video I've wanted to make for a very, very long time. I wanted to talk about, because it's always something, at least for me, that's right in the front of my mind when I think of Sucker Punch. We've talked about it quite often, and it's not to, smear or say anything bad about Ghost of Tsushima. We've talked about it quite a lot on the channel. I'm actually very, very excited for this game. I'm really ready to play it. I just want to see if they have nailed it, if they can rebound kind of from Second Son, and I just want the game out at the end of the day, right? And so this is not like a negative video about Ghost of Tsushima or saying like, will they abandon? Because at the end of the day, you don't actually know what happens at the end of the game. Is Sucker Punch's idea to continue, but that is the question of this video is, well, what do you do after this game comes out, right? Do you do a Ghost of Tsushima 2? Do you do a brand new game? Do you do a Infamous 3? What do you do? What's the next thing that you do? What I find interesting is when you look at all these studios, you look at a lot of them have kind of like those secret second studio inside the studio thing going on. Guerrilla Games, it's been rumored for a long time that they have two, right? One's making a Killzone. Now, they're only rumors, but even from like a Naughty Dog, we know it to be true, right? They're not necessarily two completely different studios anymore, but they are kind of two teams operating where the second game tends to start to be worked on towards the end of the first game coming out, right? And a lot of development studios do this in general, even like Warner Bros. Montreal. They're making two games at the same time, right? So lots of them do it. It's not far-fetched to say that even Sucker Punch, maybe they're making two games at the same time. Ghost of Tsushima comes out, and then they're already making whatever the next game is. That would not be surprising to me in the slightest. Now, in order for that to happen, you have to ask yourself the question, well, what is that game? Are they already making, while they're making the first game, are they already making the sequel to it? Or are they doing something completely different? I just feel like the way Sony has operated with their variety of games, I kind of feel like it's always a second thing or a different thing. Something just gives. I mean, well, you look at the reports, you look at rumors, you look at even what has happened. We know Sony Santa Monica even was working on a game that wasn't God of War, that sci-fi outer space game, and that game was canceled, and then God of War came. But they didn't start making God of War that second after, right? I think they had already started prototyping it. So you have things like that. Again, you have Naughty Dog who made Lost Legacy, but at the same time they were working on The Last of Us Part 2. In fact, I think they were working on that at the very end of Uncharted 4. And then also rumor has it they're making a new game right now, a brand new IP. So you have that. Again, Guerrilla, they could be making Horizon as well. So like there's, and I know I'm just throwing around Sony Studios, but yet again, that's kind of what this is. Insomniac, I feel like, made Spider-Man and is in the background working on they're making Spider-Man 2 right now, but I feel like they're also doing maybe something with Resistance remake, or maybe something with a Sunset Overdrive 2 or a Sunset Overdrive like port to the PS4 or PS5, something like that. There's always two things going on. So using that logic, I feel like if there's two things going on in Sucker Punch, which is just speculation, it's literally just me coming up with it, I feel like it would probably be a different game than Ghost of Tsushima. I don't think you'd be making the game and then also making the sequel to that game as that project that's just now starting up. I don't really think you would do that. I think it would make more sense to make a new game, and then the main team that was working on Ghost of Tsushima, well, everybody kind of ports over or goes over to the new game, whatever they're making, say Infamous, and then when Infamous is almost done, then they go and they say, okay, let's start to work on a Ghost of Tsushima 2. I feel like that's the strategy. Now, I guess, again, the purpose of this video is, do they do an Infamous or do they do a brand new game? Here's the deal. I honestly, truly believe they need to go back to Infamous. And it's not, I mean, they have some redemption to do. That is part of the reason. It's not, I think, the main reason. But a big reason is like, hey, you had something so good. You had not necessarily a mascot, because I don't think you would see Cole McGrath as a mascot of the PS3. But you had the idea of what that game was a pillar of the PS3. I would say that's pretty like rock solid, right? Infamous 1 and 2 were like standout games in the PS3 era. And clearly because they felt so confident that they decided to not continue, and I get the ending of 2, But they felt so confident that they decided to just rip out what I would say made it infamous and do Second Son, which just turned out to be a complete failure for the PS4. So the Infamous brand is very strong. I think the Infamous brand will always survive too, and it can always continue. You could even do like a prequel or a different character. And I know you just did with Delson, you did a different character, but you could do that again, right? But Infamous can always live on, and obviously it has some power, and it's a powerful franchise. It's a powerful name. I just don't see how you let that go, right? I don't see how you just leave that, on the wayside and say, well, we had a good run. We did 2 games, and then instead of making it a trilogy, because Festival of Blood doesn't count, right? But although that was a fantastic addition. Then we made a Second Son, which was kind of like a soft reboot, kind of going the lines of like a Killzone Shadowfall, right? Where it's in Killzone, but we're not going to give it the next number title, right? We're just going to call. Same thing with Uncharted. There was a lot of people saying, well, are they just going to do Uncharted and not do an actual number? God of War, another example. I mean, there's loads. Sony's done that, right? That's kind of what the PS4 has been, is soft reboots, or even like a sequel to the game, but like, you keep some things the same, or you keep centralized characters, stuff like that, but you maybe drop the number because this is a new age, a new generation. I don't know why you could, and they did that. They did that with Infamous, and it didn't work. And so I don't think that means, though, that the franchise should just be left to waste, right? I really feel like it needs to come back at some point, and for the most part, Infamous missed out on this generation. I mean, we had the first game, or Infamous Second Son, which came out the first full year of the PS4. I believe it came out that February, like 3 months after the PS4 released, and that was it. There was nothing else Infamous. I guess First Light, but okay, that's just still one game and a DLC for that one game, and that's it. That's all it had. So I think it's been enough time. I think even in there, the more I talk about it, the more I really do feel like convinced that it's going to happen eventually. It's like you can't leave a franchise that can sell really well, but like just in general, it's not easy to make it, but like it's a game that that if the right work, if the right people are put onto it, it can be a very, very good game. I mean, there's nothing stopping a new Infamous game from coming out and being Metacritic in the 90s, selling 5, 6, 7 million units, being a Game of the Year contender, all of those kind of accolades. There is nothing stopping it, honestly, from happening. Second Son should have done that. Just obviously a lot of things went wrong in it, but like that ability still rests in Infamous. And again, like this isn't slighting Ghost of Tsushima, mainly because this just isn't a Ghost of Tsushima video. It's kind of more talking about Infamous. I think Ghost of Tsushima will be that rebound that the studio themselves, that the individuals, because at the end of the day, there's people, human beings working on these games, they need to rebound. And we talked about that. Like we talked about like why Ghost of Tsushima can't basically afford to fail. And one of the reasons is like morality, they need a boost, because I think so. I don't know that. That's just what I think. I think if you make a bad product and then you're making the next one, you may still have some lingering effects of, hey, maybe you felt you did a good job, but then you're also thinking, well, not that many people actually liked our last game or liked this thing. Maybe you are a story. Maybe you are a writer, so you write the story. And don't you think you'd be like, well, people didn't exactly like the story, or if you're a character designer for Delson and then you're also doing Ghost of Tsushima, you have those lingering effects. So and again, I'm not dissing them. I'm not putting them down. I'm just saying I feel like there is something mentally to that, and Ghost of Tsushima needs to be the game to switch them back to like a positivity. Imagine the people at Sony Santa Monica with God of War. Imagine Insomniac with Spider-Man. They're on cloud 9, right? They made game of the. I mean, Cory Barlog made a game of the generation, right? Not just him, but everybody, right? But like, how excited do you think they must be to work on their new game? And yeah, I'm sure Sucker Punch is excited to work on Ghost of Tsushima, probably because they feel it is a fresh slate. It's such a different kind of game that they're like, okay, we can step away from Infamous, do what we still do best, and rebound basically, and do a really good game. And that's awesome. I hope they do think that. All that's left now is for the game to succeed, and then the question would be, well, do you? And that's a big that's a big like wrench thrown in too, because if Ghost of Tsushima does extremely well, and if it's very, very good, if it's a Game of the Year contender, all that kind of stuff, then it's like, well, do you do Infamous? Do you do the risky thing that could be a slam dunk, but also has proven with Second Son that it can fail? It actually can not necessarily be a disaster, but it can be a disappointment. Do you do that next, or do you follow up your Game of the Year contender, Sony, exclusive Ghost of Tsushima, this new Japanese, kind of game? Do you just do the next one of that because you're like rolling with it? It's tough. I could see why they would choose to do a Ghost of Tsushima 2 next, right? Follow on the success of this one. But at the same time, I feel like there's just a lot of people. It's not because there's a lot of people asking for it. I feel like that, along with a lot of other reasons, mainly because the Infamous name, let's say, or the property, I feel like the Infamous property is bigger than Ghost of Tsushima. I feel like it is now. I feel like it will be even when Ghost of Tsushima is out. That's just my opinion, but that's just what I think, right? So, guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think? Do you think Sucker Punch goes back to Infamous after Ghost of Tsushima? Let me know. Make sure you guys are subscribed, have that bell icon rung, and thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you all on the next video.